Hey everybody, welcome back to Success Secrets. I got an exciting show for you. On the show today is Chris Kalentzos. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure, Nhat. Thank you for coming here and giving us the opportunity to tell you what it is that we do and what made us successful.
Yeah, I'm excited to. Once we had the first chance to meet out in your event with the tiny house and all those things, I was like, we have to have an interview with you. So, Chris, if y'all don't know, he is the founder and CEO of Marva Marble. Tell us, Chris, how did you get into the marble business?
Well, Nhat, it goes back 30 years ago, maybe even a little bit beyond that. A good friend of mine that we went to school together, we were studying international business at Bridgeport University in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Yeah.
And his dad had just invested into a factory that was producing, at that time, state-of-the-art marble from Greece.
Okay.
So it was an idea. I mean, everything starts with an idea.
Yeah.
So he says, well, you have the connections, you're a very good salesman, because I always thrived in sales, and he can tell that it was just a natural thing. And he says, how would you like to do something where we can, together join up forces? You take care of the U.S. market, I'll make sure your supply chain from Greece, and then of course as we grow it, there'll be other availabilities from different parts of the world that we can bring product in. So I just saw that as an opportunity. Now, being a natural entrepreneur, I was licking my chops. I said, if we can really get the supply line to come in the way he was explaining it to me, and my job is to go out and find the people and create the demand, it should be a piece of cake. Yeah. So some people like to overthink it before they do it. They want to get all the elements proper, and I respect that, because these are the different personalities of people. I'm the type of a person that along the way, once I get excited about something, I will figure it out.
Now you say you're a natural entrepreneur, Chris. What does that mean? Was your parents an entrepreneur, and how do you detect that?
When I trace back in our genealogy, yes, and it goes back, we have at least 350 years of recorded stuff to a great-great-grandfather. My grandfather came to the United States just before World War I and went back just before World War II started.
Back to Greece?
Back to Greece.
Okay.
He was in Chicago, and he was very successful. He made a lot of money. Opened restaurants, and then he was able to go back to Greece and reproduce a lot of that success. Yeah. And then to find out World War II came in, where everybody had to fight. And it was a very tough conflict for Greece. And then we had also the communist conflicts between those who were not communist after World War II. So Greece, for about 15 years, from World War II until finally became a real democracy again. It was difficult. Yeah. So, but the spirit was always there, and I think it ran in the genes. Yeah. And I was also named after him. So I don't know if that has any value to it, but I like to believe that it did. Sure. And it's just, if I get excited about an idea, there's nothing that I feel cannot be done. And the universe rewards everybody with this. It can be spiritual. It can just be, where people just feel comfortable to say, we're all made equal. And there is a power that's greater than us, and we can draw that power in, and we can really move the universe with it, because we're all part of it. We're all connected to it. So I just happen to believe that. Yeah. And it sounds like a naive little story, but it really works.
Yeah. No, I totally believe in believe in the universe and being able to pull that in. And you see it in books like Think and Grow Rich and many other books out there. And just real quickly for our audience who are only listening on the podcast, you'll be hearing some phone rings and those other minor noises, but we're right here in the showroom, beautiful showroom of Marva. So appreciate you having us in this showroom. You mentioned that piece about the universe and God and those type of things. Yes. So many businesses are moving away from that message and want to be Brother Switzerland or sterile about that. And notice back in 2001, you actually put that right into your mission. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. Yes. Psalm 23:1. Why did you decide to do that and believe in that? And has that impacted your business one way or another?
In a very, very huge way. And you have to remember, businesses start individual, family, and then becomes institutionalized. mine was a family business. I mean, and part of the laws that, you know, that why I give the power and the glory to a much higher being than myself, and I refer to as God, the God of the universe,
sure,
is the fact that I was able not just for myself to start something, but also to bring my family in. And at the present time, I have all members of my family working. 3 of my children, my wife, that's our controller / our CFO. That pretty much runs the money for the company.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, I mean, I believe that, I asked for that, and sometimes the universal law also says be careful what you're wishing for, because sometimes, and you know what I'm talking about, we can be wishing for stuff that actually can be destructive, and an old saying that says some of the best prayers are the ones that are not answered, because sometimes the universe or God knows exactly what it is that we can handle. So sometimes I'm glad that, you know, I got a graceful God that, you know, maybe He'll give it to me when the timing is right and I can handle it, instead of getting it too prematurely and then actually making more of a mess with my life than a success.
Wise words,
So
especially tough for entrepreneurs.
It is. The challenges are there, but again, if the heart is in the right place, you got the work drive, you got to have the idea. I mean, you have to have a product or something that you're offering that the masses are going to appreciate that. And then, as I said, along the way, I figured it out. To tell you that I've sat and I had to figure exactly how every piece of stone is going to come from overseas, how it's going to go to the homeowner, and they're going to put it on their countertop or on their flooring, and everything is going to be perfect, and, you know, life goes on. It's a nice wish, but that's not how it works.
Sure.
So along the way, I've learned that a problem for me was just a different way to really capitalize, you know, problem, solution, monetize it. That's how I made my money. And even
I like that,
today,
problem, solution, monetize.
You know, that's what I do. I don't run anything anymore. I mean, thank God we have plenty of people qualified that know what they're doing. They run our brands, which we have phenomenal brands, and I'll tell you a little bit about that as we go into our interview, and the importance of branding, which it's where we separated ourselves from everybody else. In the beginning, you come in, you know, you started from nothing, basic ideas, you know, you build it on hard work and principles. The core is very, very important, and thank God I had great parents. And, you know, I give that thanks really to them. But I was also a good guy, you know, so I adapted to those things. I mean, I was mischief as I grew up, and I've done stuff that I'm proud to talk about, but, you know, my core is a good core because I was also raised properly. So if that's a privilege, then thank God that I had that privilege to have a good family, you know, to teach me these things.
Sure.
But the rest is just, you know, hard work and believing. What it is that you want to do. I mean, you have to believe it. If you think you're going to believe it along the way, it's going to be much tougher than trying to figure things out as you go along and adapt. Remember, problem, solution, make money, monetize it. I mean, otherwise, what are we doing?
So you mentioned brand, and I looked at the name Marva, and I researched it, and I found the meaning. It meant lady. How did you come up with the name Marva? Speaking of branding,
I mean, I saw a milk truck, and the company actually still here. It's called Marva Milk. And I said, well, where did we want to do our business? I mean, Maryland, it's the Delmarva. Maryland and Virginia is where, you know, the first 15 years of our existence were the 2 locations that we did our business from. So Marva, Maryland, Virginia. Or Marble, Virginia, because remember, there was no granite at that time. 30 years ago, the business was driven. The technology just hadn't advanced where we can mass produce granite and bring it in at a good price. So, I mean, you would see it on, you know, buildings and things of that nature and curbing, but it was not yet to the point where you can use it for the floor, use it for the countertops. They could not cut it thin enough and keep the cost down where the average person would be able to afford it. So that's pretty much how we came up with the name.
Okay, cool.
And it was sustainable.
How did you brand that name? How did you get that name out there?
Well, I mean, and through good luck. I mean, remember the old saying that says the teacher, when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. Okay, because again, I'm such a big believer in God / the universe. Okay, good things happen too. But I'm also, at times, you know, I have difficulties because of that as well. So that's another topic altogether. But let's just talk about the, you know, the good stuff. I was able really to tap into that information and just understand that for me, in order to move forward and make decent margins and have something special, I would have to figure a way to find something that's more exclusive. And my job would be to basically do the best that I can with the help of my partners or myself in the beginning. And for the first 15 years, the partners were almost not there. They were good suppliers, but I could not piggyback on their name. So I said, what the heck do I do? Well, what about my name? I mean, Chris Kalentzos. I mean, I'm a brand myself as well. I'm a small brand.
Yeah.
But I mean, how I manage and market myself, it's really what a brand is and how you market your brand. So every individual should be, and that's, I always thought like that. So how I conducted myself, how I, dressed, how I did things. I mean, I thought it was important because, it goes back to that first impression. You get to make it, that's why it's called a first impression. So I was very sensitive to that. Not a fanatic in any way, but I paid attention to it. So I tried to make my first impression to be always sustainable and for people to remember me, no matter whether you were a big business person, a guy who was raking leaves outside. I treated all men and women the same. To me, that's how I was taught, and I do it naturally. So, I make it special, and when people meet me, they always come back and say, well, he's really a good guy. And you look at the levels of people and say, well, he can be good for this guy, that level, because there's something also, that a reward that can come back. But why would, so I couldn't turn the switch on and off. Either I'm a good person with everybody, or I'm not a good person. So that had always become a friend of mine, and it really helped me as I progressed into my career. You treat people with respect. You do what you're going to tell them you're going to do. And people always want to be next to people that they are honorable. For me to sit with another man or woman, it doesn't matter, and to know that that person is an honorable person, there's no greater honor than to, there's no honor among thieves, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, we're all sinners, we all make mistakes. It's okay, the universe knows. And we have choice. Either you adapt to it, or you continue down the path. And in all cultures, all religions, destruction will sure await for the wicked. The wicked don't rest. I mean, they're just okay. And I try to avoid that. I didn't want to play in that sandbox. We all have the ability to do it, but I wouldn't be good at it. So I figure if I can be good and be great, and it's comfortable for me to do it, why not take that approach?
You mentioned some core values there, and it seemed like it's permeated through the company, your personal core values, which was your personal brand. How does a company translate that to
Great question.
everyone else? Because here's the cool thing. I mean, obviously core values is kind of taught, and you want to hire those type of people, but I notice everybody here is dressed really sharp. You mentioned about the way you dress.
We try.
Everybody here is dressed so sharp, and I think it reflects, obviously, the look and the brand of your products.
Exactly.
How does a company kind of translate that to employees? I mean, you can't ask, do you dress nice?
Sometimes they say you save the best questions for last, and I know we still have a little way to go with the interview, but this is a great question, and I value that a lot, because perception is really reality at the end of the day. So for us to be able to do stuff and to come in and put our best foot forward and be sustainable, and to get people want to, even if they're not natural leaders, they want to follow success. So if you can train somebody to basically see something, and if they like where the company is and where it's going, and they can be part of it, and you invite them, no matter what level, they can be in a warehouse position, driving a fork, it doesn't matter. Greatness. I just had the gift to be able to see greatness in people that sometimes they don't see it in themselves yet. See, these are gifts that I did not earn them from school. I don't think mom and dad gave me. I think these are gifts that came from the universe and the source, the God that I serve. So it made it a little bit easier to empower them, but also, they say the fish rots from the head. So if the head is not correct, the rest of the body surely would die as well. So, I mean, I was always held to a higher standard. I've made my mistakes. I know there's times I would go up in my office and I would close the door and I would weep to myself, because I was just, you have to perform, you have to do everything right, and you're always under scrutiny with your family, with your friends, with your business partners. So, they can't see you just go off and just be weak.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean there's moments that I don't feel that, because I'm human.
Yeah. You speak of that scrutiny, and you have practically all your family with you. I don't know how you do it.
Everybody's.
My wife works with me, and there's a lot of challenges there. How do you manage? They always say you don't preach in your hometown. Well, you've been managed to be able to do it. So I want to know that secret.
Not easy, folks, and I'll be happy to tell you. It's a give and take, and we all have to learn to play in our own sandboxes. It's really, really important. Now, I've never been a control freak, and maybe because of that, that helps me. Doesn't mean I'm not an alpha male. I am, and I can be very aggressive. But I'm smart enough to understand that these people, whether they're family, my employees, my friends, they're serving a purpose, just like I'm serving a purpose for them. So we have two choices. Either we collaborate, do things right, and we all benefit, or we're doing it to set somebody up so they can fail and I can be better. I can't put that package together. If I can create winners, man, where do I sign up for it? I want people around me to be more successful than me. Because if I wish them well, the universe will reward. Again, I go back to those values that became core because I know they work. And I'm not the most hardest working guy. I'm not the most smartest guy either. But I just learned to tap into a source that's available to everybody. You don't have to be in a special club. It's for everybody. Some know it better than others because it's also taught. But by the grace of God and some of the core values that I shared with you with family, to be a good human being, and then just understanding that, and then I was just able to, to figure it out a little bit more. I mean, to some, I'm at a very low level, very simple level, and to some, it's like, my God, this guy can communicate with God. No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't talk to God. I thank Him. It's not like I have a conversation with Him every day or something. But I guess pure heart, hard work, respect. Sometimes, as I said, you go upstairs and you close your door. And you say, be careful what you wished for. Everything that I've done in my life, I've asked for it. And that's profound what I'm sharing with you. It has nothing, and I'll spend more time on that than to tell you about great brands, what we did with Cambria, how wonderful, to bring the best quartz product in the United States. And they're probably the best company in the world. If you take the palette, what they do, they're the best. But that doesn't get me as much as excited. And with the other brands, Neolith, I mean, these are great things that are so fun and easy to just plug in because they're showing us what we have to do from a scientific approach that they've spent a lot of money to do that work themselves as well. And we just have to be good, not followers, but we have to execute the plan because it's their brand, it's their money that was spent. And if we don't do a good job with that, they have every right to say, well, we love you, but we don't love you that much.
This is interesting, though. You said, everything you've gotten, you've asked for. How does that coincide with the phrase or the verse, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want"? And someone from the outside, without reading deeper, may not understand it. How do you not compromise but align those two?
I've learned, this is a great question, and I've learned something again, that when we live in a very materialistic world, we're going to have issues. The more materialistic you are, the more you will be compromised from many, many, many levels. And that's a big topic altogether. We don't need to go into that. So I've learned at one time, before I really figured that out, I had all these things, and yet I felt like I had nothing. I would wear suit after suit. I would go buy Armani's. I would buy the best that I could buy, okay? And yet there was a time in my life where I just felt naked. There was something that was missing. And that's the source, the universal power, the God that I serve, that I absolutely adore, because He took away that feeling of not having, or I just need a little more. I mean, it was never enough. I was doing everything for a monetary role. Remember, problem, solution, monetize. I still like to, I'm a capitalist. I still like to monetize. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's just I'm not chasing and doing it because I need to go buy another expensive watch, or I need a bigger car or a bigger home. now I'm going the other way, where I want to simplify things more than just making everything bigger and better, because that's not what I'm seeking for, if that makes any sense, you know. So the Lord's my shepherd, I shall not want, basically says that I can have whatever I want.
Yeah.
But if I don't want it, why do I need to have it?
Yeah, makes sense.
If it's not going to make me any happier, if it's just actually by sometimes having more, you're not as happy. I don't know if you've been in that stage of your life, Nhat, to relate to it, but it's not about more is better.
Yeah. Well, maybe not more or bigger. Tell us, because you got more in the fact that you expanded to Chicago. Tell us what that was like in making that decision, and then making the decision to go back and taking and retracting. Because sometimes folks, as entrepreneurs, we don't like failure. And that's a hard thing. Sometimes, you know, I've been listening to Good to Great, and it said in there, it's important to know what you shouldn't do as much as what you should do.
Exactly.
When did you decide you shouldn't do that? Or first, when did you decide to do that?
Well, opportunity, again, remember, I was seeking opportunities. And one man's problem could be another man's reward.
Okay.
And in this case it was, but it was an honorable deal all the way. A friend of mine that I knew from years, he was going through a breakup of his family. And he had 5 locations from Hawaii, Chicago, California, very successful. And I met him through the shows, because, you know, that's when you get to meet folks when we go to our trade shows. And I just got a call, and he says, if you're looking for an opportunity, I would get on the plane and I would meet as quickly as humanly possible. And I could feel the distress in the voice. So since he was a friend and a trusted person, I knew he had a good character of a man, I did exactly that. United or wherever, I forget which airline, Richmond to O'Hara. And there I was, and we got together, and not to bore you with the details, but he did give me a great opportunity to take over a business where I basically pay 0 for it. But he trusted me because of the type of person I am. As I sell it, that I will pay him back his money. He was selling it to me at book value. So there was no multiple, there was none of that stuff. So, you know, Chicago, my grandfather Chris, that I'm named after, that was his journey. Did pretty good until he went back to Greece, and then stupid World War II broke out. Maybe if he stayed here, I wouldn't even have to probably work, because he was very, very, very successful. Anyway, so with that said, that was the opportunity. But then, a year down the road, my own children started to grow up. And now I was putting stress in my family with my wife, which is basically saying pretty much what happened to my friend. And I said, do I keep growing and flying back and forth to Chicago and lose my family? And we decided that wasn't worth it. So you see how the universe, how beautifully everything works. Here I am, I'm taking an opportunity that a person offered to me. Okay, I've made money doing it. But then it was almost working the same way for me to call somebody else possibly and say, listen, if you want to deal with it, so I don't lose my fit. But he waited too long, and he ended up getting a divorce because of it. And I really, by the grace again of God, I was able to not only find a Fortune, what it is today, Fortune 100 company that was interested in that location, and they bought it from me, which was Mohawk Industries today, which is now Tire. Okay,
that's
so
huge.
they bought that location from me, and that put us on the map because it gave us the cash flow, and then we were able to expand here in Richmond. So everything works the way the universe knows. But again, it's timing. It's not timing something, it's time in. So if I can share anything with an audience, that I'm hoping that I will leave a little something behind, because we all go through our journey. And as I was telling you before, the teacher shows up when the student is ready. Words have power. It's just to be patient. Give thanks for something that you want to accomplish before you even do it. And that universal power is going to give that to you. And it's just, I can't explain it any better. You know, so sometimes it's just, what do I want to do next? You know, so I have many things that I want to do, but it's just, you know, again, it's timing. I mean, I live a rewarding life. I mean, it's not just Marva. I mean, we have other investments that we're doing that we're very successful with it. But it's available to anyone. if you just follow certain things, which is hard work, integrity, when you give your hand to a man or a woman and you say you're going to do something, do it. And if you made a mistake, you go back and you tell them, hey, I made a mistake. This is what happened. If you have that good character, people can see that.
Yeah. And so with that in mind, how did you decide which relationships to forge, because you built that personal brand, of course, with ethics and everything like that, because you said in the first 15 years you only really had vendors.
Exactly.
How did you connect that to
great question.
Partnerships? Because you definitely differentiated the two. And throughout your timeline, I noticed you said you partnered with this person, and that was significant.
You're bringing it in beautifully.
And that's what I think people don't understand between a vendor and a partner.
Happy to do it.
Yeah.
First 15 years was to learn the business ourselves, source it out, find it at the cheapest price. Because remember, it's where you buy. I'm a merchant. I take it from point A to point B, and I get paid. I'm not manufacturing anything. So finding the right price, knowing what you can sell it at, was important. Because that's where you get to the markup that you're going to make.
Yeah.
So you can invest so much of it and how much of it for your lifestyle as well. So as you paid the time in, it was my name that was the important one. Remember, the other guys 15 years before the last 15 years where now my brands are bigger than my name, that was the time that I had to learn the importance. So when somebody now comes in and tells me, Chris, if you can pick it up, you're used to here. We like Marva, that's why we're visiting you.
Okay.
But now we can pick you up 3-4 notches.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have that, knowing that yourself and your company is also a trademark, and you're managing your own trademark, you can relate to that, because you'll go back to saying, I'm just looking, how can I make a quick buck? But you'll never be able to cash out proper. Not in all cases, but in majority of the times. You'll never get a multiple for your business, okay? So you basically sell it at book value, that I call. So if you want to really have a multiple and future value, you need the brands. We are in an era of brands. Everybody wants to buy something better. I mean, and you can look at all the brands that we have, from the phones that we use, the Apples and everything else. So branding is huge.
And you're almost co-branding, if you will.
Yes. Cambria has to be single-handedly the best thing, truly. Now I'm saying that, and I'm saying it from the heart, because really we've learned so much from them. And to honor what we learned from them, now we're going into an area where we're opening new showrooms that we're making proprietary only for the Cambria brand. As we speak, we're opening a beautiful facility in Charlotte, North Carolina, that will be state-of-the-art, and we're only going to promote that particular brand, because the quartz right now has really a huge demand and success, and we know we have the best in the world. And that's a fact. I'm not just saying that because I'm Cambria. Anybody who's out there that has seen the competitive colors from all over the world, they know that Cambria has the best colors. And everybody tries to copy them. Cambria doesn't try to copy anybody else. But again, that was an important footstep for us to learn truly the power of the brand. And where you're no longer a commodity, we've set up a price, we reinvest a lot of those dollars back into the brand, because brands, to maintain them, are expensive. Okay, and we've never looked back. Then our natural stone side with Antolini. Antolini, probably the biggest factory out of Italy in the world. Again, top of the food chain. Okay, and a lot of the stuff in the back natural. It will reflect to see some of the best stones, period. And those who know, when they come to Marva, they see that. And then we went into our porcelain brand, which is really what they call compact surfaces, or centered stone, which is basically a porcelain product that now they can make it into a slab form that you can use at exteriors, you can use it basically any place. That neolith out of Spain is also considered the best. So we are partnering up in 3 areas between quartz, natural marble, granite, and onyx, and all those products, and then into the porcelain family of products, okay, or the centered stones, to have the best 3 companies bury it. So, but that took 15 years to learn about ourselves, and the strength that we would have is by making the name Marva into a respectable name, where people now that want a footstep to come into the United States, they will look, how you come to the United States? You need to partner up with somebody. So that was the good lesson, thank God. and we've never looked back since.
Yeah.
And now anything that we take on, it has to be a brand, otherwise we will not sell it.
So when you say take on, I see this phrase that you said, and it's on your website from some of your other employees. Y'all call it the art of selling. Why is it an art and not a science?
See, the art of selling is you always want
or buying, actually, art of buying, yeah.
Yeah, buying is one thing, it's important, and more important than price is to get the products that people want, not what we like.
Gotcha.
That's another mistake a lot of companies make, and buyers, is that they look at stuff that they love and like, but if the market doesn't want that, that's a mistake. So you're setting up yourself for a leader, and a lot of them learn that quickly.
Yeah.
And if you don't learn it quickly, when you're dumb, you better be tough and run a business. So that's another problem.
And so you said you have to understand the marketplace, and that you gotta. We had the last conversation. We talked about looking ahead and staying ahead. We were looking at the tiny house that was here. Right. How do companies, get past the immediate cash flow and prepare for the next thing? We talked about Elon Musk and how he's really future thinking.
He's a genius.
Yeah. How do we, as entrepreneurs, whether it's small or large, multi-million dollars, we've seen companies crash within a few years because they didn't look what's the next thing coming. How do you keep a pulse on your marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, again, visionaries, it's hard to explain them, and a lot of my customers are also visionaries. They're successful business people, so obviously some are easier than others. But for us, I mean, when we look, if you're asking me, our perspective when we look at the world and how we prepare ourselves and how we position, I mean, I'm not smart enough, or our company is not smart enough to predict cycles, but we can see trends. And what I was telling you before, in the last 8 to 10 years, I mean, you could see that quartz was on its way up, and actually it's taking the market over. Yeah. So we were smart enough to make the adjustment. That doesn't mean you forget the rest of the products. But if you don't have unlimited money where you can just keep pouring into everything, you have to, what they call the easy picking fruit from the tree.
Low-hanging fruit.
Exactly. So in this case, again, that was, in our part, was visionary enough to understand that, again, not a cycle, but a good trend, and we capitalized.
When do you call it a trend and not a fad? When do you see, do you look globally? Do you look in your backyard?
Great questions.
What kicks you over? How much of it's gut and how much of it's data will you say? Is it 3 years, 4 years, and then say, yeah, that's it? Or is it something with inside you and say, you know what, it's enough?
It's that sixth sense. There is some of it is scientific. I mean, you participate in global shows, you go into classes and you listen to designers and the colors they're selecting. I mean, you can pretty much, by the way, what colors we're going to wear, how we're going to dress. I mean, the year before, somebody's doing that, and the big stores are basically programming us that that's what we're going to be choosing from.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, indirectly, we've been programmed towards that anyway. But if you pay attention from clothing fashions to it will reflect also to how we're going to choose, how we're going to paint our homes, the furniture that we're going to put in, the type of fabric we're going to use. So for us now, pertaining to stone, we can see trends. The fad is really more of a color that just came out, that everybody went gaga over it, but it's not a sustainable thing. You have to look at sustainability. Is it a short-term thing? Is it a long-term? Short-term, it's a color that maybe we looked at it and I said, nah, I don't think it's going to be that good. And sometimes I've made the right call, but there's a lot of times that I didn't. And that color ended up having a very nice life cycle. And I didn't want to play, catch me. I missed it. And it's okay. That's how we learn.
Some of it is just testing and failing. And,
exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. And then it has to do also with, how much am I willing to invest? And if it doesn't work out, can I absorb that, write it off, get rid of it? Don't dump it where you're hurting your marketplace. So there has to be disciplines as well. And one thing in our market space, you know, Marva we're never price driven. To us, quality is everything. And that's been a big secret. And I hope if my competitors are hearing that, God bless them, I invite them, let's keep the quality where it needs to be. And, you know, not the trick or treat where we can just make it price because the average person doesn't know stone. You know, you got to hold the high moral ground as well.
God, I could go a dozen more questions in that direction, but I know you're limited on time. So we're going to go ahead and go into the speed round.
Okay.
A lot of folks have been really anxious to get that part and get these questions real quickly. So you mentioned a lot of folks that are great out there, like Elon Musk. Who's the entrepreneur, global entrepreneur right now that you really admire?
It has to go back to Elon Musk.
Elon Musk,
I think he's brilliant. I mean, and the thing, technology is going to change everything. I can tell you my biggest supplier out of Italy, Antolini, he's changing all his machines where it's all going to be basically robotics.
Wow.
Okay. Now, you know, you hear about artificial intelligence. I mean, you know, it sounds like a sci-fi movie. You know it and I know it, it's not. Now, when is it going to come? It's coming.
Not if, but when. Right?
It's when.
What about locally? What entrepreneur do you admire around here, locally or regionally? Any?
In my own space or just
in your own space or in the local market here in any industry?
One of the companies that has just been a great inspirational, if you want to call them, the Markel families. They have been absolutely brilliant. I mean, I was fortunate enough to have some of their folks that, you know, just meeting at events and just asking a few simple questions, you know, businessman to basically an empire name. And I just saw a lot of humility and great advice. And it's what I was saying before. Can we build as many people as we can into winners? It would be a better world. So I mean, there's so many people to talk to, but this particular one stood out because of advice that I wasn't invested with them. There was nothing there that they benefited from me by giving me that kind of advice. But I would always think very, very highly of them. That's one thing.
With that in mind, you know, you've invested so much in Marva. If you weren't doing Marva right now, and say your kids are ready to say, Dad, let me give a shot at it, and you wanted to go another business, what would be the industry that you think would be the industry right now? Real estate.
Construction, real estate related stuff. Building stuff. I want to build. That's an area that that I hope I will have the chance to do it.
Okay. Well, still within building then, what is your favorite material? Is it still marble or?
You know, I love them all because each one is very, very unique. But again, you know, I mean, to tell you that God creates, man discovers. And if that makes any sense, I think I've already answered the question. I mean, man can outdo God's beauty. So anything that's found from a mountain that you haven't altered it in any way, and you just take that piece of stone, you cut it, and it is what it is. Just like when
what's in your home? What's in your home?
I have an older material. It's called blue pearl. I've mixed in with. It's actually granite and marble mixture.
Oh, neat.
So it's blue and white because I always loved those two colors.
Okay.
But back then it was the hot stone because of all the reflectors. But today it's considered, you know, basic. We fix everybody else's house. And ours goes last. There's no time for our stuff.
Oh, and you being Greek, a little slightly different direction. What is your favorite Greek restaurant? What's the go-to restaurant so everybody else knows?
Stella's has to be. Great family, the Davos family. They're great folks, but there's many of them. I mean, from Pegasus. I mean, I don't want to single out. But if you ask me the one that I authentically like to go and eat to it, and I enjoy the ownership of the company as well as the store, the location of the restaurant. Stella's will be the one that I would choose.
Fantastic. The last couple questions here, Chris, what are, in business, you mentioned many of them before, if you had to boil it down to 3 secrets to building your business and your life, what would be those 3 success secrets?
When you tell somebody you're going to do something, do it. Okay. Personally, for me, it's just believing what it is that I'm going to do. If I don't believe it, then I can't use the universal laws to help me. So I want that power because it's free. It's there for anybody. So And then, the concept of what it is that you're going to do, is it something, you can have the belief system perfect, you can have the value system perfect, and you got a product that nobody wants. So you also have to identify what is it that people will respect and love to have, and if I can bring it to them, that I would have my part that I can cut out, and always remembering problem, solution, and monetizing. Because I know nothing is as simple, and a lot of people have great ideas, much more smarter than I am, but they never do anything because they want to get it perfect before they even get started.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work like that. Sure. You just got to get in there, and if you have that faith and that drive, it will just work out.
Fantastic.
That's my experience.
Well, before I get into the last question, I want to thank you today. I want to thank your company. I know you do a lot of events for the community out there, from the Chamber to a lot of other great organizations, so we appreciate that.
They're great folks as well.
Thank you. Yeah. If folks, by the way, want to connect to you, is there are you on your social media at all, or is it primarily on the website? LinkedIn?
The best one for me. I mean, I'm not big on that stuff. The company is. LinkedIn will be the best one. Okay. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes there. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So the final question I have for every guest is, since this is Success Secrets, everybody has their own definition. What is your definition of success?
Balance. I mean, if I put success because you're monetarily successful, but you have a family that's nothing there, no friends, so it's really a balance between all of that. Success to me measures that, if you're not successful in a monetary way, of course that hinders you. If your health is not good enough, then you still can't help anybody. If you don't have love for family and friends and mankind, I call team humanity. I mean, we're human at the end of the day. So these are just things that I value success as really a balance in everything that we do, not just monetary. Sometimes people think success is measured by how many dollars. No, that was the scripture of my building, which says, "The Lord's my shepherd, I shall not want," because that cuts that materialistic, where now I am not setting up myself for disappointment and also for compromising as well.
That's great. I wish I could talk to you for another hour here, Chris.
I know you too. I enjoyed it.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Real pleasure, Nhat. Yeah. Thank you.
So to everybody out there.
Thank you, folks.
Till next time, be successful and stay social.
Thank you, man. That was great.